Let me tell you something real, something raw. You wake up one day, flip on the news, and boom, America's shaking hands with Pakistan like they just found a long-lost cousin. And there you are, sitting there wondering, wait a minute, what happened to the world's largest democracy? What happened to India, the tech powerhouse, the cultural giant, the land of Vedas and visions, making billionaires in garages and launching rockets to Mars on a budget less than a Hollywood movie? You think it's a betrayal. You think it's politics, but let me tell you what it really is. It's a test, not of diplomacy, not of economics, not even of alliances. It's a test of mindset. It's a test of character. It's a test of how hungry you still are when you feel you've already earned the feast. See, when you're already on top, the fight ain't with the world, it's with comfort. It's with entitlement. It's with the dangerous lie that says you've done enough. And now I ain't here to tell you fairy tales. I'm not standing on some fancy stage in a silk suit preaching dreams without dirt. I'm here to talk about grit, about wake-up calls dressed as insults, because America siding with Pakistan in 2025, that ain't the end. That's the ignition switch. See, let me break something down that most folks don't want to hear. When America backs Pakistan, it ain't because India failed. It's because India succeeded too well. India became so big, so self-assured, that the game needed a new player just to keep it interesting. Because, here's the thing about global politics, it ain't checkers, it's chess, and in chess, sometimes you sacrifice a piece to shake the board. You want to know why America shifted? Let me walk you through the mindset. America doesn't move with loyalty. It moves with leverage. It looks at who's hungry, who's desperate to rise, who's willing to bleed for relevance. Pakistan, for decades, played the role of the underdog. Now, in 2025, it's repackaged itself. New leadership, new tech policies, aggressive foreign investments, media narratives polished like diamonds. And America saw that spark. But don't get it twisted. Just because someone sees potential in your neighbor doesn't mean you've lost yours. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Just because the spotlight's on them doesn't mean your light went out. It just means it's your turn to stop basking in what you did yesterday and start grinding for what you're about to do tomorrow. This ain't a speech about diplomacy. This is a speech about drive, about the engine that turns humiliation into innovation. See, when your pride gets poked, when you feel the sting of being overlooked, that's the moment when legends are born, not when you're loved, when you're forgotten. India is not a country that folds under pressure. It's a civilization that thrives on challenge. Every time it's underestimated, it rises. Every time it's sidelined, it rewrites the script. You think America shifting allegiance is a loss. Nah. It's a loud, unapologetic reminder. The world doesn't owe you respect. You earn it daily. And let me be clear, this isn't about America vs. India or Pakistan vs. India. This is about India vs. complacency, India vs. comfort, India vs. past achievements. The war isn't with borders, the war is with boredom. The real enemy is thinking you've done enough when history is just getting started. Now, let's talk about why this happens. Why does the world love an underdog? Why does it throw attention at the one who's still building rather than the one who built? Because struggle is magnetic, and Pakistan, whether strategically or sentimentally, framed its struggle as resurrection. Meanwhile, India was in its era of celebration. Too much celebration and not enough recalibration. But here's what y'all forget. In India's DNA is disruption. You built tech cities out of dust. You turned ancient wisdom into modern software. You exported CEO. You built rockets on a budget. And you brought the world to your shores without firing a single bullet. That is power. So if America's shifting gears, let them go. Because when you chase validation, you forget your value. America's attention doesn't define India. India's ambition does. Let me ask you something. When was the last time being underestimated didn't fire up a storm inside you? When was the last time someone said you couldn't and you actually listened? Never. Because in the Indian soul is the heart of a warrior disguised as a monk. You move in silence, you strike with innovation, and you grow not with noise but with knowledge. Let me tell you a quick story. You ever seen a lion chase a rabbit? Nope, because lions don't need to. But when the lion forgets how to hunt, even rabbits look threatening. That's what happened. India in its pride stopped hunting. It got comfortable in its throne, and America noticed the stillness. But here's the twist. The lion isn't dead. It's just remembering how to roar again. And this so-called alliance between America and Pakistan. That's the alarm clock. That's the slap that says, "Wake up, King. Your crown is slipping. Now, let's talk to the young people, the students, the coders, the dreamers in tier. 2 cities working out of hostels with 1 fan, 1 laptop, and $1 million dream." This moment ain't about politics. It's about purpose. You got 2 choices. Feel offended or get obsessed. You can cry over lost attention, or you can build the kind of future that makes everyone pay attention again. You're sitting on a gold mine of talent, of culture, of spirit. But gold don't shine unless you polish it. You gotta put in the grind every single day, not because someone's watching, but because you know who you are. Because your mission isn't to chase headlines, it's to create history. When I see India, I don't see a nation needing validation. I see a volcano waiting to erupt with potential, but it's gotta choose, eruption or erosion. You can't stand still. You can't keep saying we're the next superpower, and then act like you already arrived. Nah, the real superpowers don't talk. They execute, and for all the folks saying, but it's not fair, let me remind you, fair is a playground word. In the real world, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand, and demand comes from dominance, not of others, but of self. You gotta dominate your doubt, your fear, your comfort, your calendar. You gotta wake up earlier, work harder, learn faster. That's how you earn your seat, again and again and again. Now some of you are asking, what's next for India? Let me tell you what's next. The next chapter ain't about crying foul. It's about creating fire. The next chapter is about rebuilding hunger at every level. Government, business, education, innovation. It's about treating every insult as a fuel injection, every alliance shift as a call to action, every setback as a setup. The problem ain't America siding with Pakistan. The problem is when you let that shake you instead of shape you. The real story isn't who America chooses. It's who India becomes because of it. You want to regain the narrative. Stop talking. Start building. Let the world see what happens when 1 billion dreams decide to wake up at once. Let them feel the thunder when students start thinking like CEO, when villagers build startups, when soldiers become scientists and artists become strategists. Let them witness the rebirth of a nation that doesn't beg for recognition. It demands it by its sheer output. There's a fire that only lights when someone doubts you. Let it burn. Let it fuel every classroom, every boardroom, every war room. Let that fire light the path not just to reclaim respect, but to redefine what global leadership even looks like. And while the world watches Pakistan with curiosity, let them look at India with caution. Because a silent India is the most dangerous India, not violent, not reckless, but deliberate, disciplined, determined. So don't ask why America shifted. Ask what you're going to do about it. You going to sulk? Or are you going to scale? You going to complain? Or are you going to conquer? Because at the end of the day, alliances change, trends shift, but identity, that's yours to own. And India's identity isn't built on who partners with it. It's built on what it produces despite who ignores it. Remember, diamonds aren't loved in the beginning. They're dug, cut, pressed, and only then do they shine. And right now, you're in the pressure phase. But that's the beauty of pressure. It never breaks the worthy. It builds them. So rise up, India, not with noise, not with reaction, but with reinvention. Show the world that this wasn't a betrayal. It was a beginning. A beginning of a new era where you no longer wait for the spotlight. You become it, because the world doesn't respect power inherited. It respects power rebuilt, reforged, reimagined. And if 2025 is the year America bet on Pakistan, then let 2026 be the year India becomes undeniable. Let that be the year the world realizes alliances are temporary, but greatness, earned again and again, that's eternal. India must stop chasing validation and start building a future that no alliance can ignore. This single line isn't just a perspective, it's a call to arms. It's a challenge to shift from reaction to creation. For far too long, nations, especially rising ones, have found themselves caught in the trap of seeking approval from global powers like America. That cycle of chasing endorsements, of tailoring decisions to suit outside validation, dilutes vision and dilutes power. India, in all its cultural richness and technological potential, doesn't need applause. It needs action. Because applause fades, but impact, that echoes for generations. India's path has never been conventional. It has always been a paradox of spiritual resilience and material ambition. A land where monks coexisted with mathematicians. Where wisdom didn't come in diplomatic cables, but through ancient scriptures that understood human dynamics long before artificial intelligence tried to decode them. But in 2025, the real pivot isn't America shifting toward Pakistan. The real pivot is whether India stops waiting to be seen and starts building to be unavoidable. Every great power in history had a moment when it stopped looking outward for permission. That moment often followed a disappointment, a global cold shoulder, a betrayal cloaked in strategy. That's where India stands today, the strategic tilt of the U.S. toward Pakistan is not a judgment, it's a trigger, not an ending but an awakening, because in international affairs nothing is personal, it's all leverage. But in national destiny, everything is personal. It's about purpose. India's obsession with global recognition stems from decades of being patronized, underestimated, and told to wait its turn. But the world doesn't give out turns. It rewards those who take them, and in this decade, India has the capacity to take its turn not by yelling louder, but by building deeper, by shifting focus from diplomatic choreography to transformational execution. This moment is not about defense pacts. It's about mental resolve. It's about whether India can engineer a leap forward so audacious, so undeniable, that the world has no choice but to recalibrate its alliances. Not because of charm, but because of consequence. India's strength was never in its diplomacy alone. Its true force was always in its intellect, its youth, its entrepreneurship, and its ancient yet adaptable DNA. The future is no longer about countries that can follow. It's about countries that can define, and India must define the next decade of global direction, not by asking for a seat at the table, but by building the next table. Chasing validation is a dangerous game. It becomes a mirror maze where reflection overtakes reality. When you tailor your national strategy to be liked, you forget how to lead. Leadership means building things so massive, so transformative, that the world has no choice but to respect you, even if they don't like you. India's time now is not to be liked, it is to be legendary. Validation comes when you create systems others want to copy. Validation comes when your economic models shift global benchmarks. Validation comes when your software runs their hardware, your science cures their diseases, your startups dominate their markets. Not when your foreign minister shakes 100 hands at a summit. And let's not forget the elephant in the room. India is not the same country it was a decade ago. Today, it's a nuclear power with the largest youth population in the world. It is home to billion-dollar tech unicorns, has the third largest military, and controls some of the most strategic geopolitical assets. But despite that, it's still treated as an emerging power. Why? Because the world respects repetition more than potential, and India has been too patient, too polite in converting its potential into an irreversible pattern of dominance. Now is not the time for disappointment. Now is the time for dangerous ambition, the kind that doesn't ask if it's allowed, the kind that builds a Silicon Revolution not just in Bengaluru, but in every tier 3 city, the kind that doesn't wait for military deals, but produces autonomous drone defense systems from its own soil, the kind that doesn't hope for investment, but becomes the gravitational force investors can't resist. That kind of future doesn't wait for validation. It makes the world validate its own choices. It marked the birth of India's assertive military doctrine backed by innovation. No longer just a reactive posture, no longer just a soft balancing act, but a calculated, precise, tech-enabled strategy designed to counter emerging threats in real time with native intelligence. India is not just modernizing its army, it's rewriting the very code of how warfare will be conducted. Defense is no longer about guns and boots, it's about satellites, AI command chains, swarms of drones, quantum surveillance, and autonomous border systems. The doctrine isn't about aggression, it's about awakening. It's the realization that the future of national security lies not in the size of your army, but in the speed of your software. And India has always known speed. From Chandrayaan to Aadhaar, from UPI to the world's cheapest heart surgeries, India doesn't just innovate, it democratizes it. And now, it's bringing that force to its military mindset. But military reform alone isn't enough. Because true sovereignty in 2025 is economic, it's digital, it's narrative. You control your future when you control the infrastructure the world runs on. And the question is, can India stop seeking approval long enough to realize it already owns the ingredients for domination? Look at the map differently. The Indo-Pacific isn't just a theater of conflict. It's a canvas of opportunity, and India is sitting at the very heart of it. China dominates by scale, America dominates by capital, but India has a chance to dominate by balance. By being the credible, democratic, innovative force that speaks the language of both the West and the global South. To do that, India has to stop playing defensive. You don't build empires by reacting. You build them by setting the tempo, and tempo comes from institutions, from systems, from ruthlessly upgrading every single outdated structure, be it bureaucracy, education, healthcare, or even culture. Chasing validation means you focus on appearances, but building an undeniable future means you obsess over fundamentals. It means you turn IIT into global knowledge cities. You turn farmers into agri-tech entrepreneurs. You turn your entertainment industry into cultural software that exports your values with every frame. It means you stop copying Silicon Valley and start creating Bharat Valley, not as a replica, but as a reinvention. One that doesn't just produce apps, but reimagines digital society, where AI speaks Sanskrit, where blockchain runs public distribution, where satellites map poverty before it becomes a crisis. When you build a future like that, America's attention becomes irrelevant. Because the attention of the future will flow to whoever owns the intelligence, digital, strategic, emotional, and cultural. And India has that intelligence in abundance, but intelligence without intention is wasted potential. You can't win tomorrow's war with yesterday's mindset. That's why this doctrine, this pivot, this refusal to chase validation matters. Because it forces a country to build from within, not beg from beyond. Let the alliances shift. Let the applause go silent. In the silence, you'll hear your own voice again. A voice that remembers it ruled civilizations when the West didn't even exist. A voice that doesn't need endorsement. It needs execution. So the path forward is simple, not easy but simple. Build. Build like your ancestors built empires out of thought. Build like your parents built homes out of nothing. Build like your children's future depends on what you decide today. Because it does. India's future isn't in Washington's hands. It's in its own factories, classrooms, labs, battlefields, and startups. In the silence of its engineers coding at midnight. In the discipline of its soldiers guarding borders with dignity. In the wisdom of its elders and the audacity of its youth. When a nation decides to stop chasing validation, it becomes unstoppable. Because the hunger turns inward, the obsession becomes excellence. And the world no longer questions your place, it adapts to your presence.